killed in his West Hollywood home. It's the end of what police describe as a lover's quarrel. The tale's in fact so terrible, we can't share them with you on TV.
This was not an accident. This was not self-defense. And it was not a momentary loss of control. In March of 2014, a Yale-educated physician was cut into pieces inside his West Hollywood apartment by the man he was in a relationship with. The violence was extreme. The scene shocked seasoned homicide investigators. And yet, despite the brutality, what followed was not a murder conviction. Because when intimate partner violence ends in death, the word justice becomes complicated.
Michael, this was a brutal killing here. We can't tell you, I've seen the crime scene photos and these court documents, and they're absolutely horrific. The victim was stabbed and scalped and mutilated, and the man who confessed to killing him.
To understand how this case ended the way it did, we first need to understand who Kirtland Ma was, and why nearly everyone who knew him struggled to reconcile his life with the way it ended. Born in Scottsdale, Arizona in 1979 to Chinese immigrant parents, Kirtland was known from an early age for two things: intellectual discipline and emotional steadiness. Kirtland Ma was not reckless, he was not volatile, and he was not someone who lived on the edge of chaos. He excelled academically without being isolated. He formed deep friendships without seeking attention. Teachers described him as focused. Friends described him as calm. Family members described him as generous to a fault.
Colleen, you are right. This is one of those stories that is way too graphic for television, but what we can tell you is investigators are now saying the murderer has confessed to the mutilation. Flowers on the floor and a broken-in door handle where deputies busted in to discover a horrifying scene. It was the beginning of a rash of extreme violence that now has neighbors wanting to move out.
By the time he reached high school, his abilities were undeniable. He pursued advanced coursework beyond standard requirements and scored near perfectly on the SAT, an achievement that placed him among the top students in the country and earned him recognition as a presidential scholar. But credentials alone do not explain Kirtland Ma. What mattered more was this: people trusted him. They felt safe around him, and later in life, as a physician, that trust followed him into emergency rooms and hospital wards. In 1998, Kirtland enrolled at Yale University, majoring in American Studies. His academic focus centered on culture, identity, and social experience, subjects that reflected his own evolving understanding of himself. During this time, Kirtland came out privately to close friends. One of them was a longtime friend named Anne. Though the moment was emotionally complex, their friendship endured. At Yale, Kirtland was respected not only for intelligence, but for empathy. His senior thesis on Asian American identity earned the Henry Hayes Prize, one of Yale's highest undergraduate honors. By the time he graduated in 2002, Kirtland had already built a reputation as someone who was thoughtful, principled, and emotionally grounded. In 2008, Kirtland moved to New York City, working in high-pressure Bronx hospitals. Colleagues later testified that he was calm under stress, attentive to patients, and unusually perceptive. Alongside his medical work, Kirtland participated in outreach efforts focused on LGBTQ+ health education, particularly around addiction and disease prevention. By all accounts, his life was structured, purposeful, and forward-moving until he met Andre Davids, and that was when his nightmare began. Andre was described as quiet, guarded, and struggling with ongoing medical issues. He had a history of prescription drug use and lived a more isolated life than Kirtland. Despite their differences, the two entered a relationship that developed quickly and remained largely private. Friends later testified that Andre appeared uncomfortable around Kirtland's social circle. He rarely engaged and often withdrew. Over time, those differences became more pronounced. From the outside, the relationship did not appear volatile. There were no public scenes, No documented history of physical violence. No obvious warning signs that would have caused friends or colleagues to immediately fear for Kirtland Ma's safety. But what emerged in court was something far more dangerous.
Probably we can move immediately.
Investigators say Andre Davids and Kirtland Ma, a local doctor, were living together in the apartment.
Yeah, it appears to be a crime of passion where, one boyfriend wasn't as faithful to the other one got upset.
But this wasn't just a stabbing. Investigators say Ma's body was horribly mutilated.
He did remove some organs and stabbed him quite a few times.
Then a week later, another stabbing in the same apartment complex. This time, 3 victims injured, with another man shot and killed by a deputy in a case still very much under investigation. Neighbors say they are terrified.
They were extreme and violent, and that's really terrifying.
Andre was described as increasingly intolerant of Kirtland's autonomy, not in loud demands or threats, but in constant, grinding resistance. Resistance to Kirtland's friendships, resistance to his independence, resistance to any situation where Andre was not the emotional center of Kirtland's world. Witnesses testified that Andre reacted poorly when Kirtland spent time with others, that he expressed discomfort, jealousy, and suspicion, not because of infidelity, but because Kirtland's attention was divided. Andre did not want Kirtland to have a life that existed outside of him. This was not framed as possessiveness in the romantic sense, it was framed as dependency. Andre needed reassurance not occasionally, but constantly. He needed proximity, validation, and emotional primacy. And when those needs were not met, the response was withdrawal, guilt, tension, pressure, and everything bent inward. Kirtland, by contrast, was described as someone who avoided confrontation, not because he was passive, but because he believed tension could be managed through patience. He minimized conflict. He absorbed discomfort. He hoped problems would soften if he did not sharpen them. That approach worked, until it didn't. By 2012, Kirtland made a decision that reflected exhaustion more than ambition. He relocated to Arizona to be closer to family. The move created physical distance, but it did not end the relationship. They continued long-distance communication. They visited frequently. They maintained contact. But distance changes dynamics. And for someone whose sense of stability depends on constant emotional access, distance is not neutral, it is destabilizing. In 2013, Andre moved to Arizona too. Not because the relationship had found balance, but because insecurity had begun to panic. It does not trust distance, it does not tolerate independence, and it often sabotages what it claims to love and destroys the very thing it is trying to keep. Later that year, Kirtland did something he hadn't done before. He made the relationship public. According to report and testimony, Kirtland shared a photo confirming the relationship. Friends who had not previously known the extent of it learned through social media. There was no scandal, no backlash, no rejection. But what mattered was not how others responded. What mattered was that the relationship had crossed a threshold. It was no longer private, no longer contained, no longer controlled by silence. However, despite that Kirtland was unhappy, he felt constrained, and he wanted out. And on March 28, 2014, Kirtland told Andre he wanted to end the relationship. And that was the greatest singular act that sent him packing from this earth by the same person that claimed to love him. There was no testimony describing insults, no claim of provocation, no suggestion of cruelty. This was not an impulsive breakup. It was not a dramatic ultimatum. It was the confirmation of something Andre had already feared. Control was ending. According to testimony, the conversation escalated rapidly, not because of a single comment, but because the foundation Andre relied on was collapsing in real time, and he needed to do something to remain in charge. For someone whose emotional stability depends on possession, abandonment is not experienced as loss. It is experienced as annihilation. What should have been a difficult but necessary conversation immediately escalated. Andre refused to accept the idea of separation. Testimony later described the shift as abrupt. What began as a discussion became an argument fueled by panic, fear, and loss of control. The argument intensified as both men struggled to assert dominance over a situation neither could undo. Andre did not retreat. He did not disengage. He advanced, driven by a volatile mix of desperation, dependency, and rage. The confrontation turned physical. By the time it ended, Kirtland had been fatally injured. As reality set in, Andre's behavior shifted again. His focus turned outward, to his sister. He contacted her in distress, minimizing what had happened while seeking help. She understood the urgency immediately and contacted authorities, concerned for his safety. When officers arrived on March 29, 2014, the apartment was silent. Inside, they found Kirtland on the kitchen floor, unresponsive. Nearby, Andre was discovered alive but injured in the bathroom. He was secured and removed from the scene for medical treatment. Paramedics attempted life-saving measures on Kirtland, but they were unsuccessful. He was pronounced dead later that evening. The apartment became a crime scene. Investigators quickly noticed this was a domestic homicide. Andre was taken to the hospital. While receiving treatment, he confessed to killing Kirtland. Toxicology tests later showed narcotics in his system, information that would become central to the legal strategy that followed. The case drew immediate attention. The severity of the violence shocked investigators. Law enforcement described it as one of the most disturbing scenes they had encountered. Andre was identified as the sole suspect and placed under arrest. By March 30th, he was formally charged with murder involving the use of a deadly weapon and held on $1 million bail, a decision that would later draw public outrage.
Now of Andre Davids, he admitting to the killing back in 2014 of March, the killing of Kirtland Ma. Prosecutors say David's defense argued it was a crime of passion, that the jury reduced the charge to manslaughter instead of potentially life in prison. A short time ago, Ma's family, in disbelief that that murder charge had been reduced, asked for that maximum punishment.
Media coverage intensified. Residents of the apartment complex were shaken. Another violent incident nearby during the investigation deepened fear within the community. People questioned their safety. Some moved out. The trial did not begin until December 2015. Prosecutors argued that Andre's actions demonstrated malice, citing the sustained nature of the attack and the aftermath. The defense did not deny that Andre caused Kirtland's death. Instead, they argued emotional collapse, impaired judgment, and drug influence. They framed the killing as an impulsive act triggered by heartbreak, not a deliberate decision to kill. The jury was tasked with deciding whether Andre acted with intent to kill or whether his mental and emotional state reduced criminal responsibility. Kirtland's family urged the court to pursue the most serious charge possible, seeking accountability that matched the loss they had suffered. On December 17, 2015, the jury returned its verdict: involuntary manslaughter. The courtroom reaction was heavy. The verdict acknowledged responsibility, but reclassified the act, legally separating it from murder. Weeks later, during sentencing, Kirtland's brother Wayland addressed Andre directly. His statement was raw and restrained, filled with grief rather than spectacle. He spoke of permanent loss, of a family altered beyond repair, and of consequences that would never fade. Andre was sentenced to the maximum penalty allowed under the conviction: 12 years in prison plus 1 additional year for use of a deadly weapon.
The victim's family shared their feelings about David's.
When anyone, including your family, looks at you, the first thing they will see is a murderer. Even if they say they're okay with having you alone in a room with their family, no matter what they say to you, what you have done will always be on their mind. You will never escape the evil you carry inside of you, and people will know.
The decision sparked outrage. Many felt the sentence failed to reflect the brutality of the crime. Calls for harsher punishment echoed throughout the community, but the law had spoken. Andre appealed the sentence. During the appeal hearing in November 2016, the prosecution reiterated the severity of the crime. Deputy District Attorney Michelle Janis emphasized the extent of the violence and argued that Andre posed a continued threat. The appellate judges reviewed the case in full. The sentence was upheld. No retrial was possible. Kirtland Ma was 34 years old. He was a physician, a researcher, a son, and a friend. He was someone trusted in moments of fear and crisis, someone who dedicated his life to helping others survive theirs. The court acknowledged the violence, the law delivered its judgment, and the system moved on. What remains is the question left unresolved. When intimate partner violence ends in death, how much does intent matter, and how much does outcome? Kirtland is remembered not for the way his life ended, but for the way he lived, with discipline, compassion, and quiet strength. His absence continues to echo through the lives of those who knew him, not as a statistic, but as a permanent loss.